Many years ago, in the village of Umezama, news did not travel by radio or phone. It traveled by mouth, from one chewing mouth to another, until even lies started sounding like truth. If you cooked well, people knew. If your husband shouted at you, people knew. If you greeted elders properly, they knew. And if you were a wife who hosted visitors well, your name would enter history. It was in this village that a young lady named Oriaku grew up watching women compete quietly with food and endurance. She watched her mother wake up before the cock crowed, cook until sweat soaked her wrapper, smile through insults, and later be praised as a good woman. So, from childhood, Oriaku learned one thing very clearly. Suffering loudly was shameful, but suffering silently was respectful. Her mother used to say, Oriaku, a woman's crown is patience, and Oriaku would not seriously, even though she did not fully understand why crown needed that much suffering. When she later married Ifenna, a very calm man, she believed she had finally won life's lottery. Ifenna was not loud, he was not flashy, and he was not dramatic. He liked peace and quiet mornings, and he liked eating his food hot and in silence. But to Oriaku, that silence sometimes felt like the emptiness she needed to feel. In the early years of their marriage, things were smooth for them. Their arguments ended quickly because Ifenna did not even have the strength to argue. He worked really hard and minded his business, while Oriaku took pride in being called Madam of the house, even though the house was just 2 bedrooms and a small sitting room. Then December started approaching. See, Christmas in Umezama was not just a season. It was a competition of who cooked the most, who hosted the largest, and who suffered the longest and still smiled. One evening, Oriaku sat on a wooden stool outside their house, eating garden eggs and listening to neighbors' gossip. One woman said, "Did you hear? Ngozika hosted her husband's entire family last year, even the ones she had never seen before." Another woman hissed, "That one, she nearly fainted in the kitchen, but see how they praise her up till today." As she heard them talk, Oriaku's heart began to beat faster. Praise and respect, those two sweet things that entered the ears and stayed in the hearts. That night, while Ifenna was eating quietly, she cleared her throat dramatically and said sweetly, "Ifenna." He looked up. "Yes, Ori. I was thinking, this Christmas, maybe we should host." Ifenna paused. "Host who?" Oriaku frowned. "Family now, small people." Ifenna swallowed slowly. "Oriaku, Christmas is close and money is tight. Besides, this house is small. We can visit people instead." Oriaku laughed. Is it not the same family? What is the difference now?" Ifenna shook his head. "The difference is that when we visit, we rest, but when we host, we suffer." Oriaku waved her hand. "Suffer, ke? You like exaggerating. It is just cooking." "Cooking for how many people?" he asked. Oriaku smiled and did not answer clearly. "You know Christmas food is usually plenty now." Ifenna sighed and told her, "Oriaku, I like peace. I don't like noise in my house, and I don't like stress." Oriaku nodded quickly. Of course, I understand." But in her heart, she was already imagining big pots, praise-filled mouth, and women whispering, "That Oriaku, she's trying, oh." So, the next day, immediately Ifenna went to work, Oriaku brought out her phone and started calling relatives. "Auntie Ulaku, you people should come, Christmas will be lively here. Cousin Nkemjika, bring the children. What is Christmas without children now? Mama Ozuru, you must come. You will bless this house." By evening, her voice was already hoarse from too much talking, but her heart was full. When Ifenna returned and noticed her excitement, he asked, "You look happy. What happened?" Oriaku smiled innocently. "Nothing, it's just December joy." Ifenna nodded and said nothing more. Meanwhile, Oriaku smiled to herself. This year, they will know I am a good wife. By the time December reached, Oriaku woke up one morning and suddenly felt as if Christmas was sitting on her chest, pressing it and reminding her that time was running. From that day, Peace quietly packed its bag and left her soul. Oriaku started waking up before even the village cocks could clear their throats. She would jump from bed, tie her wrapper tight and rush outside, sweeping as if dirt had personally offended her. Pots began to change position daily. Plates multiplied mysteriously and spoons started disappearing and reappearing in strange places. Ifenna noticed everything, but he said little. He would sit on the arm of the sofa watching Oriaku move around like someone chasing invisible ants. Then one morning, he asked her, Oriaku, why are there 5 bags of rice in the corner? Oriaku did not blink. She just said, oh, those ones are small now. You know Christmas rice finishes fast. Finishes fast for who? He asked. For people, Oriaku replied vaguely. Ifenna sighed. Which people? Oriaku laughed. You worry too much. Family now. Ifenna frowned. That word again. Family. It had started sounding like a drum beat in Ifenna's head. Unfortunately, as days passed, Oriaku started borrowing. She borrowed a big aluminium pot from Mama Sonto down the road, promising to return it immediately after Christmas. She borrowed another pot from the church women leader. She borrowed benches and borrowed plates. Soon enough, even the kitchen looked like a rental shop. One afternoon, Mama Sonto asked her, Oriaku, how many people are you even expecting? Oriaku smiled proudly. We will see. God will provide. Mama Sonto raised her eyebrows but said nothing because she knew that in Umezama, when someone says God will provide, it usually means someone will suffer. At night, Ifenna started eating alone, not because he wanted to, but because Oriaku was almost done in the kitchen. Food that used to be ready by sunset now arrived late into the night, cold and apologetic. Sorry, oh, Ifenna, she would say, placing the plates down. I was calculating something. I am really sorry. Ifenna wondered what she was even calculating since nobody had shown him any numbers. And then money started disappearing in small ways. 1,000 naira here, 2,000 naira there. When Ifenna asked, Oriaku quickly answered, firewood is expensive now. The price of pepper has increased though. Oil is now behaving like gold. One evening, Ifenna finally sat her down for a discussion. Oriaku, I don't like surprises. I know you are planning something. Just tell me exactly how many people are coming for Christmas. Oriaku wiped her hands on her wrapper and avoided his eyes. You know family can change plans. That is not an answer. Oriaku smiled nervously. Maybe 10 or 15, something like that. Ifenna leaned back. Oriaku, this house cannot contain 15 people. Oriaku laughed again, louder this time. Do you want to disgrace me? Is it not just only sleeping? People can manage now. Manage. That word landed heavily, but Ifenna did not say anything more. The first relatives arrived 5 days before Christmas. They did not call ahead. They just appeared with bags, children, and their loud noises. Immediately she entered. Ulaku shouted, Oriaku, so this is the famous house. Before Oriaku could respond, Ulaku had already dropped her bag on Ifenna's favorite chair. This place is small, though, she added loudly, looking around. But we will manage. Ifenna froze. That word manage again? Her children ran into the bedroom immediately. Someone asked where to charge phone. Someone complained about heat and someone asked for water. Oriaku smiled, running up and down and chanting, welcome, welcome, make yourself at home. While Ifenna stood quietly by the wall, watching strangers rearrange his space as if they were in a hotel. That night, he slept on the edge of the bed, squeezed by luggage. He whispered in the dark, Oriaku, this is too much. Oriaku whispered back urgently, please, just endure. It is Christmas. Endure? Okay, another word added to his growing list. Unfortunately, it didn't get better because as more relatives arrived, opinions arrived with them. They started saying things like, this soup needs more salt. Why is the meat small? In our house, we cook rice differently. Oriaku nodded and adjusted. Sometimes she laughed and apologized, while other times she ran. Ifenna watched everything quietly. He noticed how nobody asked if he was comfortable. Nobody asked for his opinion and nobody even respected his space. One afternoon, he came home to find that his small reading table had been moved outside. Where is my table? He asked. Oriaku quickly said, oh, it is outside. We needed space for sleeping. Ifenna frowned. Did you ask me? She hesitated. There was no time now. Ifenna nodded slowly and said nothing more again. However, that night, while Oriaku slept from exhaustion, Ifenna stared at the ceiling, listening to snores, chats, and laughter filling his house. And for the first time since his marriage, he did not feel like a husband. He felt like a visitor who had overstayed his welcome. In a matter of 2 days, Oriaku had become a shadow of herself, except that this shadow still cooked, smiled, and nodded, even when her legs were shaking. But if someone looked closely, they would notice that her laughter had changed. It now came out too fast and too loud, like laughter that was trying to cover something before it spilled. The house no longer smelled like a home. It smelled like many things at once: boiling rice, frying oil, sweat, dust from luggage, children's socks, and that strange smell that comes when too many people breathe inside one room for too long. The sitting room, which used to be Ifenna's quiet place, had turned into a marketplace. Someone was always talking or complaining or asking for something. Oriaku, where is spoon? Oriaku, this child is hungry again. Oriaku, can I bathe now? Oriaku, this fan is not blowing well. And Oriaku answered all of them, sometimes at the same time. Ifenna, on the other hand, now moved around his own house like someone trying not to offend anybody. When he entered the sitting room, conversations paused slightly, then continued without him. His favorite chair was never free again. His slippers disappeared regularly, and once he searched for his phone charger for 1 hour before later finding it inside someone else's bag. One morning, he woke up early, hoping to enjoy a few minutes of silence before the house woke. He sat on the veranda with a cup of tea, staring at the orange sky. For a brief moment, he felt peace. Then Ulaku came out, tying her wrapper aggressively. "Good morning," she said without smiling. "Good morning," Ifenna replied politely. She looked at his cup and sighed dramatically. "Tea again? You know, in our family, Christmas period is not tea time. Real food should enter the stomach." Ifenna nodded slowly. "I just wanted something light." Ulaku clicked her tongue. Men of nowadays and their weak stomach. She walked away while Ifenna sat there staring at his tea as if it had betrayed him. Inside the kitchen, Oriaku was frying meat when Nkemjika walked in, chewing something loudly. "Oriaku," Nkemjika said, "this your stew is good though, but it would have been better if you used fresh tomatoes, not these ones." Oriaku smiled and said, "Next time." Nkemjika laughed. Christmas is just once a year, no next time." Oriaku laughed too, even though it felt tight in her chest. Later that afternoon, some women from the village stopped by to greet. As soon as they entered, they began praising her. "Oriaku, wife material. This is how a woman should behave. Your husband is lucky, oh." Oriaku beamed and her tired eyes shone like torchlights. This was what she had been working for. This praise felt like food. One woman even added loudly, "If it is some women now, once they marry, they will close their doors like prison. But you understand marriage." Oriaku nodded proudly. Ifenna, who was sitting quietly at the corner, felt heat rise to his face. He stood up slowly and walked outside without saying a word. Oriaku noticed, but she pretended pretended not to. She did not want to spoil the moment. That evening, Ifenna did not eat at home. He said he had eaten outside and Oriakụ did not question it. She was too busy supervising cooking and managing complaints. Alas, the next day, things became worse. Someone rearranged the bedroom without asking. Someone moved Ifenna's clothes. Someone squeezed his trousers anyhow, and someone joked about how men don't really need privacy. At lunch, while everyone was eating, Nkemjika laughed and said, Oriakụ, you are lucky your husband is calm. Some men would have been shouting by now. People laughed. Oriakụ laughed too, but Ifenna did not laugh. He placed his spoon down gently and stood up. I am full, he said. Oriakụ looked at him, but you did not even eat well. I am full, he repeated and walked away. Oriakụ felt fear crawl into her stomach. She followed him into the room and asked, Ifenna, are you angry? Ifenna looked at her calmly, too calmly, and said, no. Then why are you behaving like this? She asked. He sighed. Oriakụ, I don't feel like a man in my own house. Oriakụ frowned. Why are you talking like this during Christmas? That is the problem, Ifenna said. Everything is about during Christmas, so my feelings should be postponed till after Christmas, right? Oriakụ opened her mouth to reply, but someone shouted from the kitchen, Oriakụ, the rice is burning, oh! She ran out immediately and Ifenna sat on the bed alone staring at the wall. That night, something happened that changed everything. One of the children mistakenly poured water on Ifenna's work bag and important documents got soaked. Ifenna came in and saw the bag dripping. Who did this? He asked. One of the women laughed. Children are children now. Ifenna clenched his jaw. Who did this? Oriakụ rushed in. I'm sorry, Ifenna. I'll dry it. He raised his voice. That bag is important. Oriakụ stepped in. Ifenna, calm down now. Is it not paper? Don't ruin the Christmas spirit. Ifenna turned to her slowly. Please, don't talk to me like that. The room went quiet. Oriakụ quickly laughed. Please, let's not spoil the mood. But that statement did something terrible. Ifenna picked up the bag and walked out. And from that night, he stopped coming home early. He stopped talking too much and he stopped reacting. Oriakụ noticed, but she kept pushing forward. She told herself, after Christmas, I will apologize. Don't worry. After Christmas, everything will settle. But Christmas does not warn you before it breaks things. On Christmas Eve, another straw broke. Everyone gathered in the sitting room, eating and chatting, when Nkemjika suddenly raised her cup and jokingly said, let us appreciate Oriakụ, the real man of the house. Laughter exploded. Someone added, yes, so she's the head of this house. Someone else laughed. Ifenna is just enjoying life. Oriakụ laughed nervously, but Ifenna stood up slowly and the laughter died halfway. He looked around the room at faces chewing his food, sleeping in his house, and yet laughing at his silence. He smiled. Now, that smile frightened Oriakụ more than anger ever could. He said nothing and walked into the bedroom. Oriakụ followed him, Ifenna, but he raised his hand gently, not now. She watched him change his clothes. What are you doing? She asked. Going to clear my head. On Christmas Eve, she asked. Ifenna paused and looked at her. Oriakụ, you fed everyone, but you starved your marriage. With that, he picked up his phone and walked out. That night, Oriakụ did not sleep. She lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, listening to snores, whispers, and laughter from different corners of the house. Ifenna's side of the bed was empty, and that space felt wider than the whole village. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard his words again and again. You fed everyone, but you starved your marriage. Still, she got up before dawn, washed her face, and told herself the lie she had been telling herself for weeks. Just survive today. After today, everything will be fine. By morning, the house was already alive. Pots were banging, children were shouting, someone was arguing over bathroom turns while Christmas music played loudly from someone's phone. Oriakụ moved like a woman walking on a hot ground. She cooked, stirred, tasted, adjusted, wiped sweat, smiled, and answered greetings. Ifenna has not come back, Mama Uzuru asked calmly while sipping her tea. He went to clear his head, Oriakụ replied. He will be back. She said it with confidence, but her heart did not believe her. Around noon, food was finally ready. The table in the sitting room was full of rice, stew, meat, chicken, drinks. Everything was beautifully arranged. However, Oriakụ looked at it and felt a strange emptiness. This was the moment she had dreamt of, yet it felt as if she was standing on a stage with no voice. People gathered around the table. This is plenty, oh. Oriakụ, you really tried. This is how Christmas should be. Oriakụ forced a smile. Then Ifenna walked in and the room went quiet for half a second. Then noise rushed back in louder than before. People greeted him loudly, over cheerfully as if to cover something. Odogu, welcome, oh, our in-law. You see food now? Ifenna nodded politely and sat down quietly at the edge of the table. Oriakụ's heart jumped. She felt both relief and fear mixed together inside her. As people started serving themselves, the tension thickened. Plates clashed. Someone complained that the meat was small. Someone said the rice was too much, and children argued over drinks. Then it happened again. Ulaku stood up, holding a spoon like a weapon, and spoke loudly. Oriakụ, this meat will not go round. In our family, the head of the house should be served first. She then turned to Ifenna and said, but since you don't like eating much, we will give the elders first. Laughter followed. Oriakụ froze. Ifenna looked up slowly and said, please don't speak for me. Ulaku scoffed. I am your sister now. Yes, Ifenna replied, but this is my house. The room went quiet. Then Nkemjika laughed nervously. Why are we serious on Christmas Day again? Let us be happy. She turned to Oriakụ and said, abeg, give me more meat. After all, you are the one running things here. Someone jokingly added, yes, so Oriakụ is the chairman. More laughter came, and Oriakụ laughed too, with her eyes begging Ifenna to ignore them. But Ifenna was done with it. He stood up slowly and pushed his chair back gently so it did not make noise. Everyone, he said calmly, enjoy your food. He picked up his plate and walked towards the bedroom. Oriakụ jumped up. Ifenna, please. He turned, looked at her and said, sit. She froze. Ulaku hissed. Drama, always drama every time. Oriakụ sat slowly. Everyone continued eating, but the joy had reduced and whispers started moving around the table like ants. Then Ifenna came out holding his bag, fully dressed. Oriakụ stood up again. What is happening? He looked at her and said, I am leaving. The room exploded. Leaving where? On Christmas? This is a joke, Abi. Oriakụ rushed to him and held his arm. Please, don't do this here. Don't embarrass me. Ifenna gently removed her hand. Oriakụ, I have been embarrassed quietly for days. I warned you. I told you I was uncomfortable, but you chose applause over peace. You turned my house into a stage and made me a background actor. Oriakụ shook her head. I was just trying to be a good wife, oh. He chuckled. A good wife does not sacrifice her husband to impress visitors. Ulaku opened her mouth to talk, but Ifenna raised his hand. Please don't. He looked around the room one last time and said, enjoy Christmas. I will enjoy my dignity. With that, he walked out and closed the door. Oriakụ stood there frozen. As everyone avoided her eyes, the food on the table suddenly looked like punishments. One by one, people stood up and started saying, I am full. I need to rest. Let us give them space. Slowly, the house became empty. Oriakụ sat alone at the table, staring at untouched food and listening to the Christmas music still playing foolishly in the background. And that was when she realized something terrible. She had won the praise but lost the home. After Christmas left Umezama, it took the visitors along. On 26th morning, Oriakụ woke up late. There was no child shouting for food, no auntie coughing dramatically, and no pots banging. The house felt bigger and empty at the same time. For a moment, she lay on the bed hoping that Ifenna would walk in, stretch and ask for tea as if nothing had happened, but he did not. She sat up slowly and looked around. The house was scattered. The borrowed pot was in the kitchen like witnesses waiting to testify, and food was everywhere. Yet, Oriakụ felt hungry in a way food could not solve. She dragged herself into the sitting room. The table was still set from yesterday with cold rice, dry meats, and half-empty bottles were there. She remembered how proud she had felt arranging that table, but now it looked like a crime scene. She started packing slowly, one plate at a time, but each plate felt heavier than the last. By afternoon, the messages started coming. Thank you for hosting us, so may God bless your home. Hope your husband is feeling better. Hope? Feeling better? Not even one person asked where he had gone. Oriakụ did not reply any of them. On the third day, Mama Somto came to collect a bowl Oriakụ had forgotten to return. She sat down and folded her arms. I heard small things. Oriakụ nodded. Mama Somto sighed. My daughter, visitors eat and go, but marriage stays. Oriakụ said nothing. That evening, she finally gathered courage and went to look for Ifenna. He was staying with a friend in a nearby town. When he opened the door and saw her, he just sighed, stepped aside and let her in. For some time, they sat facing each other like strangers who once shared a secret language. I am sorry, Oriakụ quickly said before fear could stop her. I thought I was doing the right thing. Ifenna nodded slowly. You were doing what you were taught. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I just wanted to be seen as a good wife. Ifenna looked at her carefully. By who? Oriakụ opened her mouth and then closed it. Ifenna continued, marriage is not a performance, it is a partnership. When one person is dancing and the other is bleeding, the music must stop. Oriakụ cried quietly. I felt invisible in my own house, he said. I warned you. You heard me, but you did not listen. Oriakụ knelt down and pleaded, please come back home. Ifenna was silent for a long time. Then he finally said, I will come back, but things cannot continue the same way. We need boundaries and respect. If that cannot happen, we will part peacefully. Oriakụ nodded eagerly. I will do anything, please. He helped her up and said, go home. I will return when the house feels like home again. Oriakụ thanked him and returned home alone. That night, she packed away the remaining borrowed items and returned them one by one the next day with embarrassment burning her cheeks. She paid off the debt slowly and cleaned the house thoroughly, removing every traces of the performance she had staged. When Ifenna finally returned weeks later, the house was quiet, clean and simple. She served him food peacefully and sat down without an audience or applause, as she had finally learned the lesson clearly that you cannot impress outsiders while neglecting your home. And most importantly, a marriage does not need external praise. It needs internal respect. Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share your thoughts about the story with me in the comment section. What lessons did you learn from the story? Kindly share the story out with your loved ones and give the story a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you've not done so by now. Until I bring another story your way. Bye!